Welcome back, everyone, to Grand Tactician, the Civil War. All patron units are now recruited, so I will be making a special post just for you patrons to let you see exactly where your units are in the order of battle. I'll do that after I've recorded today's episode, so you can be watching for that. That'll be a post on Patreon. It'll be a private video that you'll be able to view there. Looks like we've won a naval victory outside of Wilmington. Our Atlantic blockading squadron continues to do its job there. Eventually, if we can get a perk, we can actually select a perk that allows naval units to capture forts. That'll be a really nice thing we'll be able to have at some point. We just don't have it yet. So in the meantime, 1st and 2nd Corps, Army of the Potomac, are out here to the west, kind of screening against all those armies that I know are in that area. I have sent the 3rd Corps down to take Petersburg, which they've done. We're now going to go ahead and put a fort there so we can hold Petersburg. I'm also going to probably go ahead and build a supply depot or two in the area because I think, well, we're good on supply at the moment, but it doesn't mean it'll stay that way. So let's go ahead and build a depot. So here's what's nice about bombarding a fort. If you saw a second ago, my Atlantic blockading squadron barely had even registered a tiny percentage of their work toward a perk. But now that I'm actually bombarding this fort, they're very quickly going to level up and get that perk. And once they get that perk, I can choose the perk that allows them to capture forts. There's only 42 garrison troops in Fort Caswell. So we should be able to do pretty well. I mean, we're seeing some issue with some of our ships. We may have to withdraw at some point, but not before we've achieved that first perk. Alright, so the USS Jamestown's down to 44%, but we're about to hit that perk. Once we do, there it is. I'm going to pause for a second. I know one of these allows us the ability to I think it's like Amphibious Attack. Here it is. Allows the fleet to capture forts, levels up by attacking forts. So we can actually improve that by continuing to attack the fort. Their defense only has 16 men left. And even though we've got a few ships that are kind of hurting, I think we've got enough to get this done. You can see our readiness is actually going up. It's almost the end of April 1862. Let's take a look at our current projects. I like the idea of market reform because we've got some issues with the efficiency of some of our markets. So I'm going to go ahead and choose that. I don't think there's anything else at the moment that I want to do. Nope. Training manuals. Each level of this project further increases the effectiveness of training, meaning the troops' training level increases faster when they are encamped. Oh, let's do that. I like that. Oh. Well, it looks like I didn't even realize we had, but we've actually taken the fort. So the Atlantic blockading squadron has taken Fort Caswell. Let's go ahead and garrison that bad boy so they don't take it back. And remember, every time I do this, when you see that number of total troops I have in the field, that's going to count these garrisons, which in this case is 3,000 men. Why is George Armstrong Custer commanding that? He was in command of a different unit. That's kind of strange. Wow, Charles Hamilton's got some mean stats, though. More than I want to use for a garrison duty, that's for sure. Alright, there's that. What else can we go after with this Atlantic blockading squadron now that we can take forts? I love this. How about Fort Moultrie and Fort Johnson down here in Charleston Harbor? Let's go for those. Well, as we wait for the Atlantic blockading squadron to go after the forts in Charleston Harbor, we have contact between the Army of the Kanawha and the Confederate Army of the Potomac once again up here in northern West Virginia. Well, it'll be West Virginia once we take it. We've got a little bit of an edge in manpower. This should be an interesting fight. There are 3 objectives, one on this side of the river, the other 2 on this side. He's coming in from up here, so honestly, I'm pretty content, I think, to let him grab that objective there and then dig in right here along this side. Let him try to take these. Well, that one's worth a little more, so it's kind of even, I guess. So maybe we'll actually spread out on both sides. All right, our first sight of the enemy. He's got his cavalry out front screening for him, and we see them coming down this road right here. So I've got the 11th Arctic Angels in position. We've also got our second battery with some 14-pounder Jameses that are ready to fire on them when they get back in range where they can see them. I'm going to try to get these other guns up in a better position where they can fire on them as well. We'll see what these guys do. They're obviously lead scouts for the cavalry who could, the infantry who could be just about anywhere. Let's go ahead and bring up some support. Oh, they came under the artillery fire and decided that was enough of that. They've probably got evade orders. Estimates are pretty close to even in terms of the numbers of men. We'll see when his infantry arrives. So as it appears that his whole force is on that side of the river, we're going to start shifting the Albademi division over this way. I'm sending the infantry over to cover that crossing and to maybe possibly get on his flank and fire. And nothing else, we'll get the Cameronians to start firing on his artillery over here, even as we put him under artillery fire ourselves. Oh, he does have some artillery on this side, so let's mount up the 10th Hussars and start sending them up to confront that artillery. Cameronians have started firing on Fourneau's battalion, and they're driving them off. Beautiful. Now we can actually turn and fire on the infantry. And his men are pretty well winded. It's early in the morning, so we've got a long day ahead of us. He does have some infantry on that side too, so let's also send the Royal Scots Greys. Oh, they were already mounted up. We'll send them up this way too. There's 2 brigades of infantry on that side. Cameronians are in a good spot here because they're able to fire, but they're not being fired upon. Let's get Lyle to dismount. Now, opposite problem here, of course, where they're under fire from the artillery, but not actually able to do anything themselves. So we're going to try to neutralize that battery as quickly as we can before the infantry comes up. Got these Enfield Musketeers, which have a good range, 400 yards, and reload at 3.5 rounds a minute. So a little better than infantry weapons. Another battery coming up, as well as 2 brigades of infantry. So far, pretty one-sided on the casualties. I'm a little worried about Lyle being under artillery fire, but he's only got 5 guns there, so I think we'll be okay. We've neutralized some of them already. Now we'll come up and put 2 cavalry brigades, about 5,000 men, firing on this infantry that's coming in. These guys have Maynard carbines, 300-yard range, but 12 rounds a minute. So it's a nice combination between the two of the kind of fire that we have. Going to be able to really put a hurt on them with the Royal Scots Greys, firing at that rate. Starting to move Maxey now. I'm a little worried about that battery, Garnett's battalion. He's got 15 guns. He is starting to move into an attack though. So now we've got 101st Screaming Eagles opening fire. Got the 82nd over here. We actually got the 173rd. We can swing them around. I think this battle's going to be over pretty quickly. We're taking some casualties now, finally, because he's able to get the fire on me. Down to just 24 rounds already. They've been firing pretty much the whole time. Ah, he's out. He has decided that attack was over before it started. Anytime I'm on the defensive with my superior weapons, I can just really wreck him pretty good, like I did there. Right, so that was about 9-to-1 casualties there. I'm curious, because I want to see where the damage was done by that one. So let's look at our combat report. And we're going to see that the Albademi division did almost all the damage in that one. Specifically the 10th Hussars, who just did ridiculous damage in that one. 1,600 inflicted casualties by themselves. And then it's kind of hard to see because of the names here. But I believe it was also the other cavalry unit did an equal amount of damage. Beautiful job. So we've completed our breadbasket 1 policy. I'm looking at what we might do next. Maybe now is time for emancipation? I don't know. It'll discourage the Europeans from entering the war, but I don't think they're entering the war anyway. Yeah, I think I'll do that. We'll go for emancipation next. And I do want to go in now and... what Confederate invasions are happening? We'll have to take a look at that in just a second. But I want to go into the military because I want to go to the Army of the Kanawha where we just had that fight. And I want to do some promotions. Specifically the 10th Hussars, Colonel Peter Lyle, who was fantastic in that battle. We're going to promote him to Brigadier General. And we're also going to go ahead and promote Phil Sheridan, who commands that division, to Major General. So he's got some really nice stats, as you can see here. So does Winfield Scott, for that matter. In fact, we've got some major fame happening all around in that particular army. So we're going to also promote Edwin Sumner to Major General. And then Gordon Granger commands the new unit that we're in the process of recruiting. The West Virginia Infantry is going to arrive soon, and then the Arizona Ghost Riders. And I think now that we've defeated that army, assuming it's going to move south, we're going to move south as well. See if we can't take... oh, who's trying to take Marietta? Oh, that's not going to happen. We're going to move down to Marietta and secure that. And then we're going to make our move on Charleston. Okay, Army of the Kanawha is in Marietta to defend against that. I also want to take a look and see if our fleet has reached... oh, we just lost... you know what? I didn't think about the fact that our squadron was still kind of hurting from the last fight. So we did lose a ship, the USS Minnesota. We might need to pull out for now until we can deal with that. I want to look and see. All right, Balloon Barge 1. That's going to help us also with... oh, man, we've actually got several ships that are hurting at the moment. So I think I'm going to go ahead and pull them out of there until we can get those ships in better condition. Let me see if I can do that. Send them back up maybe to New York for the time being. Get the ships repaired. Maybe actually add a few. Let's go and look at our ships for just a minute. You can see a lot of them are in pretty poor shape. So we're going to add a few ships there that we've got sitting around. And I'm actually going to, I think, construct a few new ones too. Give me something with a bunch of artillery. We don't really have a lot, do we? Apparently he's got an army in Grafton, Virginia now, because we're dealing with that there. So I think we're going to probably have to send some help to deal with these armies. We got the Army of the Ohio over here in central Kentucky. His Army of Tennessee is still sitting there, but we heavily outnumber him. So what I think I might have to do here, actually, I'm gonna change that order. I think we're gonna form a new army that's gonna kind of help us spread things out a little more. Ohio, I don't think Alfred Gibbs is the guy to command it, though. Who do we have available that can command an army? We might have to promote from within, because I don't see any great commanders. So I'll at least create it, and then we'll deal with that. So let's transfer. Army of the Cumberland. I actually like the name. I think that'll work. So let's send Joe Mansfield's 3rd Division and the Thoroughbred Division, along with some additional artillery, and we'll do it that way. All right, looks like it's going to be the Army of the Kanawha again, but this time they're going to be facing a little more than we expected, as we now have 2 armies that have hit them here in Marietta, Ohio. Combined strength nearly 40,000 men. They've got 103 guns up against only about 25,000 men, about 27,000 for us. So this one's going to be a challenge. So here's our Battle of Marietta, and the Confederates are coming in from up here. The objective's right here, so I expect them to come down this road. I've built up my defenses all the way around to this other road. It's kind of a difficult position because it's on a hillside here, and so I've kind of built my defense at the top of the hill, still trying to finish up the breastworks over here on the right side, so we can get those done hopefully before he arrives. His other army just arrived. I don't know if, yeah, they're coming from this side. So that's kind of the problem I'm facing here. They could potentially come from over here. So I'm really just not entirely sure where I need to defend against. If I can get through the day, maybe I build up on this side along the road too, but I just don't know where he's going to come from. He could come from up here. He could come from over here. I think I'm going to send one of these cavalry units out just to scout against the possibility of an attack from over here. First sight of the enemy is coming down this road. It's his cavalry scouts. We've got the 10th Hussars there, once again with our newly promoted Brigadier General Peter Lyle. They have a perk, Lightning Brigade, which levels them up when they fight behind cover, which they are in this case. I'm going to keep Miles over there. I need to make sure that I don't need to cover this side. So in the meantime, let's go ahead and pull Pleasanton with the West Virginia Infantry over. And we're going to give them sharpshooters, let them engage at long range. Eventually we'll upgrade their weapons to something a little better for sharpshooters. Let's see. Okay, he is coming down from up here too. Let's get our guns over there. All right, I think I might be safe to pull Miles back in now, because it seems like he's definitely coming at me from that side. I think we'll go ahead and pull Tidball. Nope, he's coming down there too. Okay. This is a unit for my replacement depot, so we're not using them in combat. I have the Screaming Eagles right here in reserve, so we could actually pull them over into that spot. We're not quite protected right there, but that's okay. We're pretty well ready for wherever he comes from. And then we'll just kind of adjust accordingly. We've got good interior lines. We're definitely outnumbered. But we're not going to have to do a whole lot because we've got morale. We're fighting in Ohio, so that helps. We've got the morale advantage. We've got the interior lines in our favor, and we've already got it well on our side. So we're probably only going to have to drive off a couple of units in order to be able to win this battle. We're not going to have to engage both of his armies. The artillery's engaged now. He does have a big advantage in guns, so if he is able to bring those into position, that could be a problem. He's really loading up over here. I think I'm going to hold... Actually, here's what we'll do. We'll shift Abercrombie over to this spot. We'll shift Sedgwick over to Abercrombie's spot. Okay. So far, so good. He's not launching his attack so far on this side. But he's about to. What kind of guns we have here? Whitworth rifles. That's why they're engaged. I wondered why we're able to fire from so far away. We've got those Whitworth rifles which have a 600-yard range. They only fire 2 rounds a minute. But 600-yard range is fantastic. Let's get the 82nd in there. Them long-range orders. They've got Springfields. But those Whitworths outrange anything he's got. So we're just going to be inflicting basically free casualties right now. We're taking casualties over here from his artillery. I'm going to move up with the cavalry and try to hit them. Can't just sit here and take it. Alright, Royal Scots Greys, do your thing. Let's at least neutralize that battery. These guys can't fire right now. I'm going to send out some skirmishers. Same here. Just so I can inflict more damage. Royal Scots Greys are probably going to get broken from what they're facing, but if we can at least neutralize that battery, and then hopefully they'll recover. Alright, now let's dismount. See what we can do here. Oh, we're still in melee. We're actually better off to stay mounted in that case. Send out some skirmishers here. See if we can get at this other battery. Miles is not going to last long in this scenario. Cohesion's good, fatigue's good. Pretty stable at the moment. Let's go ahead and dismount. Thing. Skirmishers are actually targeting his cav right now. I don't want them to do that. I want them to hit this battery. Royal Scots Greys are taking a lot of casualties right now. I'm not crazy about that. Let's see. We've got him bunched up in the corner of the map over here, so that's good. Down inside the hill, so it's kind of hard right now for them to do anything. I'm really surprised that these guys are staying stable for as long as they have, considering what they're up against. Come on, hit the guns. Or get them to target the guns instead of the cab. The cab's in the way is the problem. If we tell Runyon to charge in there and hit that battery. They've got iron discipline. It's kind kind of a long charge, though. But I don't want to sit here and just let these 15 guns just fire away at me and just one by one cause my units to fall back. We've got a ton of Confederate manpower bottled up in that one spot over there. I don't know if the Screaming Eagles are going to be able to do this. I'm hoping that Iron Discipline and the fact that they're a crack unit are going to allow them to hold a little longer in this charge than they otherwise might. This could be a risky move that does not pay off. We'll see. Yeah, I probably should have sent Lyle in there too. I got Cav there. I got to use them. All right. So Royal Scots Greys, nicely done. Drove off Ford's brigade with massive casualties. Screaming Eagles, they're a crack unit, and they seem to be doing the job. Who was wounded? Runyon, commander of the Screaming Eagles. In a good cause, though. They're tired, but they're doing the job. Beautifully done. Wiped out that battery. Broke the Confederate units there. Awesome. Meanwhile, we're just kind of holding the line on this side. Surprised these guys have any ammunition left. They haven't lost a single man. I'm curious to know how many they've taken out because of those guns that they've got. Let's take a look. That is the 173rd Sky Soldiers. 965 casualties inflicted. Not a single man lost. That's the power of 600-yard range guns. Beautiful. Greer got in behind my Cav. That's a problem. Let's deal with that. Let's send Pleasanton up. We're just going to try to completely break this. These are two separate armies. Alright, he's charging in now with Cav. I think we've got to win. Helps being on the defensive, I tell you. A lot of these battles probably would have gone a different way if I would have had to attack. But in this case, because so much of the early war so far has been spent with the Confederates in my territory, and then me kind of moving into a place where they attacked me, it's meant that I've spent a lot of these battles on the defensive. We're going to charge in with the 82nd, see if we can finish off this battle by breaking one more unit, because I think breaking one more might be enough to do this. That should do it. Lovely. Lovely, lovely. Alright, that ended up a pretty one-sided affair, inflicting 6,500 casualties on Gideon Pillow's Florida State Militia. There were actually two armies that were there, so hopefully we drive them back into the South now. May of 1862, we press on. Alright, so it appears the Florida State Militia is going to retreat into Ohio. So Army of Kanawha is going to have to sit tight right there. Meanwhile, the Army of the Ohio has run into the army of Tennessee. Looks like the odds are pretty heavily in our favor here. I'm actually going to auto-resolve that one for the time being. We've got the Army of the Cumberland, brand new army under Don Carlos Buell, that's going to start moving into position. It seems like the Ohio River Valley is the hotbed for Confederate activity right now. So we're moving them into position down here around Fort Sanford while we wait for their forces to arrive that we've attached to that army. We've got 1 day until all of those units arrive. So they'll be ready to move once that happens. All right, there we go. Glorious victory at Fort Sykes. That's actually in Nashville. So he attacked with his army of Mississippi. Only 450 men attacked Fort Sykes. There's 8,000 men here with the Western Army. Again, not something I'm too worried about. Grant's, that's just his headquarters of the Army of Tennessee. Both corps are elsewhere at the moment. Orlando Wilcox with the 17th Corps is really unable to move at the moment very well. And we still have the 13th Corps up here in Kentucky. I think now that Fort Patrick is there, did we garrison them? Let's take a look. Because if we didn't garrison them, we got to sit tight until we do. No, we didn't. Okay. So let's add a battery and a brigade there. It's going to take 12 days. In the meantime now, we can go ahead and move W.H.L. Wallace's 13th Corps down to Nashville. All right, so the auto resolve did not work out too well. Looks like McClellan could not handle things without my assistance. So I guess we're going to have to deal with that. Army of the Cumberland has their men now. Army of Tennessee is not a huge force. We did win where he was laying siege to Sherman's army, so now he's got a second perk available to him, and we're going to give him Flying Column because it allows him to carry more supplies, and I really like that, especially for armies that are going to have to be on the move. In this case, we're going to start marching Sherman down toward northwest Arkansas. We've got the Mississippi Squadron ready to go, I think. There's a Western Army floating around up here. I think we're going to send the Mississippi Squadron down to Memphis, see what kind of damage they can cause there. And then over in the east, let's see what's happening at the moment there. The Atlantic Blockading Squadron. I want to see what the status of those ships is. Some of them are in pretty rough shape still. We got to let them get repaired before we can even think about going after some more forts with that squadron. We've actually got 3 squadrons there. The home squadron could probably do some damage. Let's go down here to the Moorhead port and see if we can at least blockade that and give them some trouble. Okay, our home squadron is bombarding Fort Macon, which only has 4 men in it at the moment. More importantly, we have the ability to assign a perk. And of course, we're going to give them the same perk that we gave the other squadron, which is Amphibious Attack. This is going to allow us to take Fort Macon, which is huge. I've been to Fort Macon. It's a beautiful fort right there on the Outer Banks. He's only got 4 men holding it. No, now he's up to 5 men. But once we take that, that'll be another Confederate fort we'll be able to garrison right on the coast. Oh, he just sank one of my ships. He's sinking a bunch of my ships, I think. Okay, this is not an ideal situation. Dang. Was not expecting him to disable 1 ship, sink 2 others with such a small force. And now he's actually sending a squadron up there. Oh, man. This is a little more difficult than I expected with these ships. So let's get them out of here. Oh, I can't move. Darn it. Okay. Which one is that? That's the home squadron, I think. Yeah, we got to get them out of there. All right, we could actually get some modern ironclad rams that can be made without any concerns about domestic shipyard capacity because they would be made in France. I don't see anything else as far as diplomacy goes that I would rather have. We could get the warrior class from the British if we wait a little while longer for investment, but I don't think I want to do that. Occupation administration increases support for our nation in conquered states and territories. That actually might be good. Let's do that. And then let's also choose the French warships. And then let's go ahead back to our fleets and see what we can build in France. I wonder if we have to queue that up a certain way. So we lost 1 sunk and 3 captured in that disaster down there in the Atlantic. So obviously not a good situation there. I can't seem to really see the effect of the French ships, except that it must just be amongst these already that I have available to build. So we're going to go ahead and start building several of these gunboats. Let's get 5 of them going there. I thought this was for ironclads, though, but I just don't see the option to be able to build them right now. The ironclad gunboats right there. That's what we're talking about. Commander David Farragut has the Gulf blockading squadron. I don't think, though, that with the ships we have, he can head up the Mississippi River. So I'm curious to see. Yeah, see, a lot of these are sea-only vessels. And so he can't head up the river with those. So we're going to have to create a fleet that can go up the Mississippi to get at those forts. But in the meantime, I'm going to take that squadron, and I think we're going to go over here and see if we can't deal with Mobile Bay, if it'll let me. It looks like right now we actually can't do anything with that squadron. He appears to be stuck in terms of his readiness. Oh, his readiness is excellent. I don't really understand what the problem is. Okay, so we're going to wrap it up right there for this episode. Let me show real quick what the situation is with the map as far as front lines go. We still have this Confederate army harassing us, several Confederate armies harassing us in the Ohio River Valley. We are moving down into northwest Arkansas. In fact, let me go ahead and show you what's happening there, because there is, the Army of the West did come down there to counter Sherman's army. He's got about 12,000 men there. Sherman's got twice that many, but he's got only about 50% supplies, and he's being pursued by the Missouri State Guard, who has 21,000. Those two Confederate armies combined could be a real problem for Sherman over there. Things are pretty solid in Tennessee. Grant doesn't have a lot of opposition. The Army of Alabama is probably going to have to come down to deal with him. And then, of course, we've got the 3 armies in the Ohio River Valley. The Army of the Ohio, the Army of the Cumberland, and the Army of the Kanawha. So they're all keeping their hands pretty full. The Army of the Northwest seems to be moving that direction. Things are pretty quiet in Virginia, though Hampton's division is up there. So I think we're going to have to probably move at least 1 corps to go deal with them. So we'll send Lew Wallace up there to deal with them. The forts around Washington should protect things, and they are so far. We'll wrap it up right there. Let me know your thoughts. Use the comment section below, and be watching, patrons, for that special video to show you where your units are. Thanks for watching.